For many of us, watching the original Perry Mason provides a welcome window on the past. Raymond Burr, Barbara Hale, and the rest of the cast seem to live in a time we can only long for. The show is such a fascinating journey back to black and white in more ways than one. No shades of gray here. Good was good and bad was bad. You could always tell the heroes from the villains. Times just seemed to be so much better in the 50s. But were they really? Well, I actually did get a chance to ask Raymond Burr that, something I always wanted to do.
You know, when I watch the Perry Masons, for me they are filled with nostalgia because it seems like such a more simple time. Something tells me you're going to burst my bubble and tell me that was not the case, that the times then were just as difficult as they are now.
I think they probably were. I think we had the explosions of all the rapid changes in the 60s, but we were getting into fast change in the 50s. You had to think of rock music coming in the 50s and into the 60s, of course. The many changes that happened were in the 60s. We think are big changes, but it was all happening. It just wasn't as much publicity. Television wasn't as evident.
No 24-hour cable news back then. And as I point out in my book, Remembering Perry Mason with Raymond Burr, what he said about rock music was also totally true. Hard to believe now, but it ushered in a complete social change and a brand new culture of youth. Oh, and the cars. I don't know anyone who doesn't get at least a twinge of longing when viewing the fantastic old autos on the show. So even though I believe every single word Raymond Burr told me about the 50s, I'm afraid the pull of the past will always be part of the pleasure I get from watching Perry Mason. And you can find out more in my book, available from Amazon, Remembering Perry Mason with Raymond Burr.